Okay, let's see what we've got this time. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am going to be live reacting to the new prompts for the Popsugar reading challenge for 2022. I take this challenge every single year since 2016 when I accidentally took part without knowing that I was checking off any of the prompts. Last year, I did a video reacting to my thoughts on what the prompts were and recommending some books. Seemed to go down pretty well, so I thought this year I'm going to do the exact same. The list has just come out about 2 minutes ago and I have not looked at any of the prompts yet. I will give a disclaimer though that I do know what at least 4 of the prompts are. There is one that comes up every single year, book that was published in this year, and your favourite prompt from a previous Popsugar challenge. We were also given a teaser about 2 or 3 days ago, so I have got an idea already for that one. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but let's take a look at the list already. As I expected, prompt number 1, a book published in 2022. I am absolutely sure you are going to have so many options for that one. We have got The No-Show by Beth O'Leary, which is coming out in May. We have got Idle by Liz O'Neill, which is also coming out in May. Marion Keyes' Again Rachel is coming out in March. There are so many books that are coming out in 2022. There is a plethora of lists there. Next prompt is a book set on a plane, train, or cruise ship. Okay, Shipped by Angie Hockman is set on a very mini cruise ship to the Galapagos Islands off the coast of Ecuador. And then There Were None is set on a train, I believe the Trans-Siberian Express, but I am not so sure that it's that one. A book that's set on a plane is throwing me. I do know that Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo, which I read for this year's challenge, has to do with a plane crash, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it is set on a plane. A book about or set in a non-patriarchal society. The Mercies by Kieran Millward Hargrave is set on, I believe, a fictional island off the coast of Norway where every man over the age of 17 was killed in a boating accident or shipping accident, and now it's basically womankind running the country, which is exactly the kind of world that I want to live in, let's be honest here. A book with a tiger on the cover or tiger in the title. Obvious answer is The Tiger Who Came to Tea by Judith Kerr. Am I going to read The Tiger Who Came to Tea by Judith Kerr? I absolutely am. You can also go for Life of Pi, which I'm pretty sure a lot of covers will have the tiger in the canoe on the cover of it. I think either You Had Me at Ola or a lot like Adios also have tigers on the cover. There's definitely going to be something that you can fit in here. A sapphic book. Kira Smith is your one to go for here. You've got the Falling in Love montage, which was her first book. You've also got Not My Problem. One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston features a sapphic romance. Love Frankie by Jacqueline Wilson also features a sapphic romance, and this one is particularly sweet because it's a girl coming to terms with her sexuality in the throes of her first crush and figuring out who she is in that sense. Absolutely put that one on your list. This is the one that we got a couple of days ago, a book by a Latinx author. I think her name is Alexis Dario, but she wrote You Had Me at Ola and A Lot Like Adios. Those are definitely 2 of the books that I'm going to try and set in here. You also have Angie Cruz, who wrote Dominicana, which I read for this year's challenge. You've also got Elizabeth Acevedo, who writes quite a lot of poetry-based books that are written in verse, but also has got one, at least, book that's written in prose form. A book with an onomatopoeia in its title. Fuck me, I love an onomatopoeia. Okay, so your onomatopoeia words are something that sounds like what it's supposed to go, like tick or flick, something like that. It kind of gives you the sound of what it's going to go for. I can't think of a single one that's coming to my mind though. Clap When You Land, that's an option. I'm sure there's something that's got tick in it. I'm sure there's something that's got boom in it. I'm sure there's something that's got bang in it. There's definitely something on my shelf that I am looking at right now and definitely cannot see a single book that has anything that's onomatopoeic in the title. A book with a protagonist who uses a mobility aid. I'm going to show my shame here, but I cannot think of a single character who uses crutches, a walking stick, a Zimmer frame. I'm pretty sure that Wing Jones by Catherine Weber. One of the grandmothers used a walking stick that was in the shape of a dragon to help her walk. And if that's true, that is a really great book that you need to put on your list for that. A book about a found family. Okay, bear with me here. We're going to mention the iHeart series again. We always mention that iHeart series. But I do think that this one fits in that when Angela moves to New York, she basically does set up a whole new life for herself, finds brand new people to get in touch with, finds brand new people to hang out with, and Jenny basically becomes like her sister. So I think that would kind of count as your found family. An Anisfield Wolf Book Award winner. Never heard of the Anisfield Book Awards. Let's go look up what that means. The Anisfield Wolf Book Award is an American literary award dedicating to honouring written works that make important contributions to the understanding of racism and the appreciation of the rich diversity of human culture. I took a look at some of the books that were on the list, and They're There by Tommy Orange is a phenomenal book. I read it this year for a book by an Indigenous author, and I absolutely recommend that you pick that one up. Next one, a book talk recommendation. I am overwhelmed by book talk recommendations right now. You've got The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. You have got The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That pops up quite a lot. You have got Dilate for Aunties by Jessie Sutano. You have got The Six of Crows duology, Crooked Kingdom. You have got Shadow and Bone. That was especially big when it was on Netflix. A book about the afterlife. Do I read a lot of books about the afterlife? Does The Five People You Meet in Heaven kind of count? We're going to say that The Five People You Meet in Heaven would kind of somewhat count towards that, but probably not really. A book set in the 1980s. Something that's coming to my head is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. But I am pretty sure that that's actually set in the 1970s. I think it's set in 1977, so that doesn't help. There are sections of My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell that are set in the 1980s in, I believe, a boarding school somewhere in the US. That can kind of count if you're okay with taking a dual timeline where one of the timelines is set in the 1980s and the other is in much more modern times. Hello, it's Editing Aoife from the future. That book is actually set in the 2000s. I am of no help to anybody with that count. I am so sorry. A book with cutlery on the cover or in the title. The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. And I think that also has a knife on the cover, but it's probably more so a dagger than a knife. There is a book cover in my mind right now of an apple with a measuring tape wrapped around it. And I think there's a knife or fork stabbed into the top of the apple, and I genuinely cannot remember what the title of that book is. It's me again. I've been looking for about 20 minutes and I cannot find a single book that was apparently coming to my mind. It's probably just a stock image that had burrowed its way into my head. Again, I can't help you there. I'm so sorry. A book by a Pacific Islander author. That is a good one. I have read very few books by anybody from the Pacific Islands, and that is definitely something that I need to upgrade to. So I have very few to no recommendations for that one, I'm afraid. A book about witches. The Witches by Roald Dahl definitely counts. Perfectly Preventable Deaths by Deirdre Sullivan. Other Words for Smoke by Sarah Maria Griffin. Those are kind of more herbal witchcraft than the witches that you would generally associate with Halloween. A book becoming a TV series or movie in 2022. The first one coming to my mind right now is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. That is coming out as a movie adaptation in early 2022, and I will probably be one of the first in line for a ticket when it does come out. I believe that The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren is also in either production or post-production at the moment. There's going to be an adaptation for Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. That's coming out, I think, in June. There's going to be one for The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. Don't know when in 2022 that is coming out, but that's definitely being made into a film with Florence Pugh. A romance novel by a BIPOC author. So some of my favourite BIPOC romance authors are Jasmine Guillory, Alicia Rai, Mia Sosa, Talia Hibbert. I would absolutely recommend that you start with the Brown Sister trilogy. It's got phenomenal representation, not just of really strong and well-written Black women, but also women who have disabilities, who have anxiety, who are not afraid to go for what they want, are really well educated, are very flighty. I absolutely love all three of those. A book that takes place during your favourite season. My favourite season is autumn. And I'm going to recommend write more books about autumn. I don't feel like there's a lot of books that are set in autumn. I know that Katie Ginger also has a 4-book series that is set across all of the 4 seasons, and I'm pretty sure she's got one for autumn either written or coming out. A book whose title begins with the last letter of your previous read. That I cannot help you out with there, but it would be a really good transition from 2021 to 2022 prompt if you want to go about it that way. A book about a band or musical group. Daisy Jones and the Six. Straight away. Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid is a phenomenal book, and if you are a fan of Fleetwood Mac, and especially the album Rumours by Fleetwood Mac, you will really enjoy that one. A book with a character on the ace spectrum. So you've got Loveless by Alice Oseman. You've also got Ace of Spades by, I'm going to read her name out, Farida Abike Yidme? Very likely mispronounced, but those are 2 great books that you should definitely check out, and they definitely have characters who are on the ace spectrum. A book with a recipe in it. Don't think a cookbook will count, but Midnight Chicken by Ella Risberger definitely has got some recipes in it. Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton has some phenomenal recipes in it that I either have tried or I'm looking to try some of them. A book you can read in one sitting. That will kind of depend on how your concentration works, if you get easily distracted by books. For me, I find a shorter book is ideal for a one-sitting read, but I will also say that I read A Keeper by Graham Norton in one sitting this year because I was just so hooked on it. A book about a secret. So, obviously, The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty has got a secret in it. Can You Keep a Secret by Sophie Kinsella. I'm basically just telling you about books that have secret in the title. A book with a misleading title. A book with a misleading title. I guess One Day by David Nichols, in the way that it's not just based on one, the action doesn't take place just on one 24-hour period, but on a specific date, and you go the whole way across the spectrum of years with these people. That is the first one that is coming to my mind right now. Also, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig is slightly misleading in the fact that you don't actually get to take any of the books out like you would in a proper library. You just have to come there and read the books as they are. A Hugo Award winner. That one is going to be quite difficult for me to recommend because they are a sci-fi and fantasy award, and that is a genre that I generally do not read a lot from. So for me to recommend something there would be doing the awards an absolutely horrific disservice. A book set during a holiday. I mean, obviously you've got loads of contemporary romance books that are set around Christmas. You've got a couple that are set around Thanksgiving, but one that is straight away coming to my mind is In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. That is set across Christmas, the same Christmas in one year, but celebrated about 25 times throughout the book as it's a time loop. You've got The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, which is set around New Year's Eve. A different book by an author you read in 2021. I cannot count how many authors that I have read in 2021, and some of them I've actually read for the first time. I think if I were to pick 1 or 2 out the top of my head, I could go for Christina Lauren. I've read 2 of her books in 2021, and there's another couple that I haven't actually gotten around to yet, some of which are on my TBR. I know that I read all 3 of the books in the Brown Sister trilogy by Talia Hibbert in 2021, but I haven't read any of the other books that were by her before that, such as The Roommate Risk. Honestly, there's so many options you could go down with that one. A book with the name of a board game in the title. Cannot think of a single one. Is there any book that's got like Monopoly or Cluedo? There's probably something that's got chess in the title somewhere, but at the moment it is definitely not coming to mind. A book featuring a man-made disaster. So for this one, you are talking about a book that's set around the Chernobyl disaster. You're talking about one that's set around the smog in London that was during the 1940s or 50s, I believe. I cannot think of a single one. A book with a quote from your favorite author on the cover or the Amazon page. Okay, I've got a couple of favorite authors that I could have a look around for. And I do know that a lot of people that Lindsay Kelk knows, for example, are going to be releasing new books in 2021. So if I see her name on any kind of a quote, I'm in. A social horror book. So you're talking about books that have the same kind of energy as the film Get Out. Nothing is really coming to my mind. The only thing that I can think of at the moment is 1984, but that is much more dystopian than a horror kind of a story. A book set in Victorian times. The only one coming to my mind right now is The Lottie Project, and that's not even technically set in Victorian times. It's just a girl writing as if she were a Victorian character. A book with a constellation on the cover or in the title. I believe Men Explain Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit has some constellations on it, but if that doesn't, Sinead Moriarty wrote a book last year called Constellations. A book you know nothing about. I go into quite a lot of books blind. I cover by quite a lot of books. There's a lot of books on that shelf that I have absolutely zero idea what they're about. Definitely one I can tick off. A book about gender identity. What's the Tea by Juno Dawson and The Gender Games by Juno Dawson. Both of those are really great non-fiction books about gender identity, exploring your gender identity. As for fiction books, there isn't really anything coming to my mind at the moment. A book featuring a party. You have got The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. You have got The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I believe there is a party at the very end of What Alice Forgot by Leanne Moriarty. There's a couple of the Babysitters Club books that have got parties in them somewhere along the line. There's definitely scope for one there. An Own Voices sci-fi or fantasy book. I don't read a lot of sci-fi fantasy, so I am afraid that again, I am not going to be the best one to give you a recommendation here. Another one that pops up quite a lot is a book that fulfills your favorite prompt from a past Popsugar reading challenge. So take a look back at all of the other challenges that have been throughout the years. Find a prompt that either you didn't get to the last time or one that you really like the look of, and find a book that fits in there. So those are all of the basic prompts. Let's take a look at the 10 advanced prompts that you can also take off if you've gotten through the other ones. A book with a reflected image on the cover or mirror in the title. I think one of the copies of Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill features a mirror or a girl looking into a mirror, or like a mirror image of two girls. I'm pretty sure that one of those can work for that. If not, then I apologize. A book that features 2 languages. There are some books that you can get where one side of the page is written in a second language and the other side is written in English. It's great for learning a second language. There's also probably loads of books that have languages put into them as characters are learning languages or from other backgrounds. For example, Dominicana by Angie Cruz is written from the perspective of a young girl from the Dominican Republic. And she does converse with quite a lot of people from her home life in Spanish, but when she's living in New York, that does kind of peter away. I think as well there are also some semblances of Spanish in Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo, and also in With the Fire on High, also by Elizabeth Acevedo. I think there's also some Spanish written in there as well. A book with a palindromic title. Cannot think of any off the top of my head. There's probably a book out there called Anna or Hannah. If there is, go for that one. A duology. So both of the books in a duology. At the moment, I can think of Six of Crows, the Six of Crows duology of that, and Crooked Kingdom. There's no other duologies that are springing out to my mind at the moment. A book about someone leading a double life. So if you find a book about Hannah Montana, there you go. Also one that I just recently finished, The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox, features twins who swap lives. So they are kind of, in a sense, leading a double life. A book featuring a parallel reality. For this one, I can recommend The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James, which is kind of set in futuristic worlds where everything is starting to go slightly wrong and they are escaping Earth for a new venture, a new planet. That kind of fits in. A book with 2 POVs. I read quite a lot of romance, and quite a lot of those do have a point of view from the heroine and from the hero. So if you read a lot of romance, you're in there. Some fantasy books will also be dual POV. Multiple POV will probably also count if you want to bend the rules a little bit here. And so the final 2 prompts for 2022. 2 books set in twin towns, aka sister cities. So basically take the city that you live in right now, the city that you grew up in, a city that you have visited and really loved, and go onto Wikipedia or go onto their official website and take a look at the list of sister cities that they are twinned with, and then read a book from both of them. I am probably going to pick Dublin for that one, just because there are so many books that are set in Dublin. There's loads of them to pick for, and I do think that Dublin has quite a long list of sister towns and cities as well that I can choose from. Those are my thoughts on the 2022 Popsugar Reading Challenge, and some of the books that I would recommend, or some of the books that I've read that could fit into those prompts, some of the books that I'm going to try and read for the prompts that are coming up. If you didn't find any of those helpful, what I will recommend is to join the story graph. You can log your progress with the reading challenge on the story graph, and you can also go on to the main page of the prompt and see what books everybody else who's read something has put into it. I have found that so helpful for this year, for finding books that I'd never heard of but that actually fit all of the prompts. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.